Well, in 1947, when the British left, our brains also went away with them. So now, whatever comes from there, that's what we do. So, this whole, brutal way of producing things. Well, yesterday I was talking to somebody from Manchester, so I was telling him, you are the guys who started this whole business of mass production. And for this mass production, you started mass production schools. All you have is nuts and bolts. Half of them are nuts, half of them are bolts. They, of course, fit into the economic engine somewhere and they're useful. But what kind of usefulness is that when people don't live, when people don't have profoundness of experience of life, that the value of my life is, I'm worth $2 billion. I'm not, I'm telling you. But the value of my life is some number in my bank account or the area of land that I own. So, we have created this thing that our accumulations are the value of life. So, this is something you must see still fortunately prevalent to some extent in Tamil Nadu. Suppose you go to a function, let's say you go to a wedding. If you see outside the chowdhury, usually South Indian weddings, 5,000, 10,000 people would have gathered. We have to change that now with social distancing. But if you go there, you will see every kind of vehicle will be parked, Bentleys and Mercedes and this and that and everything, and also lots of TVS mopeds and bicycles and everything. If you go inside, if you go towards the men's section, if you go towards the women's section, by looking at how many kilograms of gold is around their neck, you can judge who is rich, who is poor. But if you go towards the men's section, everybody will be in the same white starched shirt and dhoti. You cannot make out who came in the Bentley, who came by TVS moped. They will all be same, they will sit in the same place without any distinction. Only by age and respect they get some prominent place, not because how much money they have, how much property they have. This has always been the ethos of this culture, but now we became a number game. How much money do you have accordingly? So if you say a big man in this town, what does the big man mean? Does it mean he has a big brain? Or does it mean to say he has a very big heart? No, it means he has a big pocket, nothing else. We have just reduced ourselves into a marketplace. Marketplace is not just in the Dalal street. Dalal is happening in everybody's minds and hearts. When people are getting married, before marriage they're signing a prenuptial agreement. When we part, who gets the dog, who gets the car, who gets the house? How do you weave two lives together when you have such a calculation in your head? I'm saying, this is in many ways destruction of human civilization. Civilization means, as you said, it is born out of compassion and love for and concern for other lives around us, that it is not about survival of the fittest. Now we are once again going back to survival of the fittest in the name of so-called modernization. This completely convoluted idea that being modern means you have to be Western has to go. Even in United States, there is quite a significant movement starting now that, people should not be recognized for their wealth, for their money, but something else. What that something else they do not know, they're struggling to find that something else, but at least there is a thought and there is a movement in that direction. And you see the richest people wearing all torn clothes, but unfortunately the torn clothes cost thousands of dollars because of the tear. If they genuinely wear the same thing what the poor people wear, which happened in the 60s, when everybody started wearing the same kind of clothes, we don't want to be looked upon as this is rich, this is poor. No, everybody wears the same sort of clothes. That was a good thing, but now a tear is costing you $1,000 more. If it's not torn, it is less. If it is torn, it is more. This is again another convolution. So fundamentally, this market mentality in our head is going to be in many ways destruction of our civilization. When I say destruction, it need not necessarily mean death. Death is a relief in many ways. When human beings start suffering immensely, death becomes a relief for most people. But destruction in terms of the fundamentals of why we come together, the reason why we come together in the form of a village or a town or a city is because individually if we exist in nature, there are too many challenges every day to survive. So we came together so that all of us can survive with a kind of a coalition of our capabilities, a cooperation of our intelligence. This is the reason why a society is formed. But is that the way our societies are building themselves up? Societies are worse than the jungle now. The social situation in the cities is worse than the jungle in terms of survival of the fittest.
Yes, Sadhguru. So definitely, what you talked about, and I was referring to nature, and I was my question was also about that, how the man is competing with nature, and I think somewhere that has resulted into us, even in when the Kedarnath happened in Uttarakhand. I had written a poem at the time also about that. Somehow, if you go to the rural area…
You mentioned Kedarnath, I have something to say about that. Can I?
Yeah, please, Sadhguru. So my point was that time also, I've been brought up in that belt. I know, they were even not allowed to speak loudly in a vicinity of the temple and the jungle. They said that Vanadevi, gets disturbed. There was a way of building folklore, tales, religion into respecting nature. That you should not do it because the Vanadevi will hear it and she will get disturbed. Now, as a child you heard that. So in that vicinity, forget building homes, forget digging that place. You didn't speak loudly. Now this is the way we respected the nature and the delicateness of the nature and the nuances of the nature and the murmurs of the nature. Now somewhere that disconnect has come. Is it, you are saying, part of market economy? Is it come because of the market economy and consumption economy? And Kedarnath, of course.
No, we lost the necessary awareness to keep the market in the marketplace. We got the market in our minds. That is a big problem. About Kedarnath and the place where you come from, but you're from Joshimath?
That side only. I am from Almora, but yes, that the whole Garhwal belt, Kumaon belt, yeah.
Say, from the age of 19, 27 years, every year I trekked that region, the Chardham region, mostly alone, and later on I started taking a few people with me. So, about Kedar, I don't know how many dozen times I've been there. But I didn't stop at Kedar, I went further up to a place called Kanti Sarovar. This place is very important for us because this is where Adiyogi first started his first yoga program for the 7 disciples of his, today known as the Saptarishis, began in that place. So, when I went there to this Kanti Sarovar, it's a glacial lake. This is what burst and became a flood a few years ago. So when I went there, I saw this is a glacial lake, an incredibly beautiful place. And every year, because the glacier pushes this rubble, and rubble has become like a dam and it holds the water there. And when I went there the first time, when I came down, I met an army captain and because those days even getting a chapati was a big problem. It was not like how it is today, too many tourists and all that. So I went to the army camp to get myself a meal. So he invited me and he was interested in who I am and we were talking. Then I saw that Kanti Sarovar is sitting up there, a dam which is just by pebbles, rubble that is moved by the glacier. So inevitably, once in whatever number of years, some geologist or somebody can make a calculation, but in my simple calculation, I know maybe once in 50, 60 or 100 years' time, inevitably that lake has to burst and come down. And now, if the lake bursts and come down, where it will come, that valley, there they've built all these silly hotels. Hotels means very basic dwellings at that time. And above all, the army camp was also in that valley. Then I said, see, all these idiots, they've put up this stuff right here. When the lake opens up one day, it'll wash them out. That is, they have no sense of anything, they've put it up there. But how can the army engineers put it here? Where is your sense of strategy? That you put army camp also in this. One part of the army camp was also into the valley, one part was built on a higher ground. I said, how can you do this? He said, oh, how do you know this? I said, well, go, you have been there, the army people are always trekking to that place. I said, see, the volume of water that is there, inevitably it's going to open up someday, all right? When the one hot summer, when it is hotter than usual, then the amount of melting that happens, it is bound to open up, there's no question about that. It is a natural phenomena, it has to happen. And when it happens, you have so many people living here, if it happens, it'll inevitably happen in summer, not in winter. That is when it melts. So obviously it will come. He said, I will inform my officers about this. I said, that is fine, but why? Why is it that we are not thinking? Why you should not even speak is, because in the valley the reverb is such, if you just clap your hand, you may start an avalanche. That is how reverberations are. But here we went and dug tunnels, we built dams. Ganga, right from ancient times, well, what happened in ancient India, nobody wants to believe that anymore. There's a whole… as I said, our brains went away. But even the British, the English always took Ganga water in the ships because that was the only water which stayed fresh up to 60 days on the ships. All other water would go bad. Mughals, when Akbar and all went on campaigns, for his personal use, he carried only Ganga water because otherwise other water would go bad and he didn't want to drink water just about anywhere. He carried Ganga water because it gave him a new sense of vigor. Our Sundarlal Bahuguna, I went to meet him at that time wanting to become a full-time volunteer in Chipko movement. I only met Vimala Devi, but I didn't get to meet him. He repeatedly said all his ailments went away just by drinking Ganga water. I must tell you, for days on end I've been without food, trekking in the mountains, just living on Ganga water. This is not because of somebody's belief, this is because of thousands of years of experience of people. We know this is what this particular water does to us. People think this is religion. This is not religion, this is just basic sense. It is true now, somebody is selling mineral water which comes from Switzerland and say this is 1,000 years old, this costs this much, that much, it costs 100 times more than a liter of water anywhere else. People are buying and drinking that. When that is sensible,